If we have a solution and it has a certain concentration, often what we can do is we can add more solvent. And in the process of adding more solvent, what happens is we decrease its concentration. Okay, so we can add solvent. And this process is called dilution. Well, what happens when we dilute a solution? So if we had a solution here and we have a certain concentration represented by the A. And what this means is we have a certain number of A particles in a given volume of solvent. We know that our concentration is equal to moles over volume. And so we'll call this case 1. And so we'll say C1 is equal to N1 over V1. If I were to come along and add some more solvent to this, so I increase the volume of the solution, I now have a second case. I have case 2, C2 is equal to N2 over V2. Even though my volume has changed, my number of A particles, or my number of particles in the solution, has stayed the same. So what that means is that my number of moles has remained constant. The number of moles in both cases is the same. So if I take this formula and I isolate for moles, I can get C1 V1 is equal to N1. And I can get C2 V2 is equal to N2. Since they're equal, I can get C1 V1 is equal to C2 V2. And so what this tells me is the concentration of some solvent solution times its volume is equal to its concentration at some other time times its new volume. In this process, as we saw, all we did was add more solvent. We did not touch my solute particles. Okay, and so our number of moles stays the same since our moles are constant. C1 V1 equal to C2 V2. So let's take a look at how we can use this equation. Okay, so here we have a question. We have a stock solution, 1 molar HCl. How many milliliters is required? So just like all other cases, write down our givens, what we know. Okay, and so we know our initial concentration. By the way, M is moles per liter. I'll write it more as moles per liter. We don't know the volume of this solution that we're going to use. Then we know our new concentration. And we know the volume of it. So we can say C1 V1 is equal to C2 V2. V1 is equal to C2 over C1 times V2. So it doesn't matter the units on or different things as long as they're the same. So therefore I'll say my V1 is equal to Okay, so now here we can see that I would need 75 milliliters of my initial solution. And we could even determine my volume of water added because it would be the difference between the two volumes. And so in this case, it'd be 100 minus 75. So I took 75 mils of my first solution and I added 25 mils of water. Okay. So again, we can do the same thing here. First, write out our givens. Now we can write out our equation. Then we can substitute in our values. And we can get our volume. Okay, now in this case, we're going to mix two solutions together. And so what we could do is we could determine our moles in our first one. So our moles of NaCl in this solution. We could determine our moles of NaCl in the second solution. And that would give us our total moles of sodium chloride. And then we can get our concentration because it'll be our total moles over our total volume. And there we go, we can get our final concentration.